This is a brand new 2022 Orbea Orca Aero. And a bike, as you can probably tell, designed for going as fast as you possibly can. It's all about speed, and it does look pretty awesome, doesn't it? So in this video, we'll find out how fast it really is with me on it on my local roads here in the UK by going for a spin. But first, let's go through the frame and tech highlights on the bike and see why it's so special. A white bike, white shoes, in the winter, what can possibly go wrong? Let's dive in. Let's start with the frame, and as you can see, compared to the old bike, if you were familiar with that bike, and here's a picture just in case you weren't, it's had a complete ground up redesign, and it's much sharper, much more focused in its pursuit of decreasing drag where possible. And the company has really applied its latest understanding of aerodynamics to the bike, and a lot of that understanding comes from their time trial bike. Bikes built for going as fast as possible, racing against the clock. And in some ways, it does look like a time trial bike with a drop handlebar fitted. So we have very deep fork blades that are flared out around the brake caliper and really narrow at the crown, a hourglass tapered head tube, an almost level horizontal top tube, a really deep aero down tube that hugs the front wheel and has the aero bottle on it as well, and you can fit the aero toolbox on the bottom. We have a very deep seat tube that also hugs the rear wheel, an aero seat post, an internal seat clamp and a rubber flap around it to stop mud and rain getting inside, and drop rear stays, and then really deep chunky chainstays which are kinked by the rear dropout. And where the previous model was available with rim brakes, this bike is all about disc brakes and joins a growing number of aero disc brake only bikes like the Trek Madone, Specialized Tarmac, many other examples I can't list off the top of my head. So disc brakes, 12mm through axles, flat mount calipers, and all the cables and hoses are internally routed. We also have a press fit bottom bracket to ensure that bottom bracket down tube area can be as oversized as possible for maximum frame stiffness. And then at the front of the bike, we have brand new handlebar and stem with all the cables and hoses internally routed. Frontal surface area is really important for decreasing drag on an aero bike, which is why getting into an aero position is so important if you like going fast, and decreasing all the clutter, everything being as narrow as possible, is really important on an aero bike. So we have this new aero handlebar with the hoses going underneath in a recessed channel and then underneath the stem and into the frame. The nice benefit of this design over other systems is that you have a two-piece handlebar and stem. So you can, if you want, fit another handlebar or another stem to adjust the width or the reach as you need. The handlebar is also narrower than normal as well to keep your shoulders and arms in, to create a smaller shape to really punch a smaller hole through the air. The frame and fork will take a 13mm wide tyre, but according to Orbea, optimised for a 25 to 28. These are 25 fitted, and on the brand new Dura-Ace wheels, there isn't that much clearance between the carbon and the rubber, if I'm honest with you. I haven't tried a 30, but I think it'd be pretty tight, especially on a modern wide rim like this. The result of all that aero improvement is, according to the company, in their own real world and wind tunnel testing, a 15-watt drag reduction at 40 km/h over the old bike, which is a sizable improvement over the old bike, and if you're racing, that's definitely not something to be sniffed at. And we'll find out how that performs on the road in my hands later on in the video. Now, another key aspect of the design around this bike was not only improving aero, but also ensuring an optimal balance of aero, stiffness and weight. On the weight front, Orbea claims for a size 53 frame a weight of 1,140 grams, which it's fair to say isn't super light. There are quite a few aero bikes that are well under a kilo, 900 to 950 grams, so it's given away quite a bit of weight to some of its rivals. When it comes to complete bike weight, this size 57 with the brand new Shimano Dura-Ace Di2 12-speed group set and matching wheels without pedals is 8 kilograms on my scales. So it's no featherweight, but when it comes to going fast, aero definitely trumps weight. Right, now you know all the tech details and improvements on this bike. Let's find out if it's as fast as it looks by going for a ride. Wow, this bike really is fast, and it makes riding fast easy and a lot of fun as well. I am a sucker for a good aero race bike because I love the way they take what little power I have and turn it into amazing forward motion. Compared to a normal bike like my own giant TCR, this bike is much quicker. The aero claims really do stack up out here in the real world. Even with me riding it, I can easily achieve speeds in excess of 40 kilometers per hour. So getting that 15-watt saving over the old bike, that sense of speed is so addictive and so compelling. And the reason many of us ride road bikes, even in the winter, when a white bike isn't perhaps the most sensible choice. And not just about higher speeds, but going faster for less effort. So even at a more modest speed of 30 kilometers per hour, the power required with this bike over a regular bike is much lower as well. With the power meter pedals I'm using on this bike, you really can see a difference. I've been riding the same roads for years and years here in the Cotswolds, so I've got lots of historical Strava data to look at, and I can see that this bike does compare very well indeed with some main rivals in this aero bike category. Bikes like the Trek Madone or the Canyon Aero, to name two examples. I think this bike is definitely on a par with those bikes, but is it any faster? Well, that's really tricky for me to say. That would need a proper comparison, side-by-side test, maybe a wind tunnel or a velodrome, do some very accurate testing. But out here in the real world, with all the variables and using all my experience and data, yes, this bike is fast. Okay, let's talk about price and equipment. And the range starts at £4,000 and tops out with this bike here with a brand new 12-speed Dura-Ace Di2 at £9,600, which is definitely a lot of money. But other bike brands with a similar frame and group set will start with a price of 10, 11 or even 12. So keeping it under 10 is certainly an achievement, but it's not a cheap bike, but definitely better value than some other brands. And the fact you can get a custom paint colour as well, which you can't with other bike brands. So it's fair to say I've been really spoilt riding this bike because we had the brand new Shimano Dura-Ace Di2 12-speed group set. You might have seen my first ride review on this group set, link above in case you missed it, and there is a more in-depth review coming soon. So I won't go on too much in this video about the group set because we're really focusing on the performance of the bike itself and not a group set. You might be looking at this bike with Ultegra or another level of group set, SRAM perhaps, so I won't go into too much detail. Suffice to say, the group set is flawless, excellent shifting, definitely faster at the front shifting than the old group set. The 12-speed just gives you smoother cadence steps down to the business end of the set, and the brakes on this new bike are fantastic, really powerful, really quiet, and just really confidence inspiring. The new wheels are impressive as well, much wider than the old wheels, nice broad platform for 25mm wide tyres, so nice aero as well. We have nice internal bearings, they spin nice and fast, nice fast engaging free hub, aero bladed spokes, and they haven't given me any cause for concern. The Pro Logo saddle is a nice addition, lots of comfort from this stubby nose saddle, and the bar tape is a nice texture, nice and grippy when you're riding without gloves or with gloves. So it really is a complete package, and there's nothing I would change. The only thing I would change, actually, if I was being fussy, is going to tubeless, but the bike came with the valves and everything I need to go tubeless. I just haven't done that yet, but I might do that if I had the bike for a bit longer. So an awesome package, a fantastic looking bike, reasonable value for money compared to some rivals in this category. And as you saw earlier, it rides really well too. Thankfully, this new Orbea Orca Aero isn't a one-trick pony. Yes, it's good, at going fast in a straight line, but it also handles really well. While the Aero frame design has been a clear focus for this new bike, it's also worked on the balance of aero, stiffness, comfort, and revised the geometry. So it really sharpened up the geometry, made the wheelbase shorter, got very compact chainstays and a lower stack, so a more aggressive, racier fit. And it feels really nimble and agile, very fast turning. The steering is very direct, very responsive to your inputs, and it turns direction really easily. So all that means, if you're riding a race circuit with lots of corners, you have a bike that's willing to change direction very quickly. The other positive about this bike that I'm pleased to report is that where comfort on aero bikes in the past has always been bottom of the list of concerns for designing the bike or for people buying the bike, this bike is pretty smooth for the most part. It's no magic carpet ride, it's not as smooth or comfy as an endurance bike, but for an aero bike, for a bike with all that stiffness, it is a surprisingly comfy bike. You definitely know what sort of road surface you're riding on. You can feel the contours, the texture of the road underneath the tyres, but it's not harsh, and it handles big impacts well if you hit a sudden pothole or crack in the road. And it is pretty supple on rough tarmac. I mean, not the smoothest. You'll feel that rough tarmac. You know you're riding on rough tarmac, but it won't be tedious like some overly stiff aero bikes can be or have definitely been in the past. So for longer rides, it won't beat you up is what I'm saying basically. And you can fit a wide tyre. Fit some 28s or 30s and go tubeless, low pressures, and you definitely get more smoothness out of this new bike. The weight on the scales isn't that impressive as I showed you earlier, but weight isn't everything when it comes to going fast, and going fast is all about aero. Weight really is just impressing your mates outside a cafe, and while it's no climbing bike, it won't unnecessarily hold you back on the climbs. And I actually set some PBs on some lower gradient climbs of about 5 to 6% recently, because the bike lets you carry so much speed into the bottom of the climb and maintain that speed up the climb. And these climbs are only a couple of kilometers long, so not super big alpine climbs. But on the undulating roads I ride here in the Cotswolds, where you're constantly going up, down and across, this punchy aero stiff frame really does deliver impressive performance. So time to sum up my thoughts on this brand new Orca Aero. And well, clearly, if you like going fast, which is many of us watching the video, then this bike definitely delivers. It's extremely fast, even with me on it, and makes going fast easier than a normal bike like my own giant TCR, for example. But the reassuring thing about this bike is that while it does deliver extremely good speed very easily, there's great handling as well. The comfort is pretty good for the most part, even with 25mm wide tyres. You can go wider if you want. I found it an easy bike to live with. All the equipment on the bike is first class. The brand new Dura-Ace group set is faultless, good brakes, excellent shifting, a nice comfy Pro logo saddle. I like the two-piece handlebar and stem setup, and the cable routing is very neat. I'm not totally sold on the Aero toolbox, which is why you can't see it on the bike right now. I think the bike looks better without it, even though I'm giving up some aero gains by taking it off. But the Aero water bottle I have got used to using, but if you want maximum aero gains, you put them back on, it's all cool. And the only real downside to the bike during my time riding it is the white paint job. Keeping the bike clean is a real bugger when roads are as filthy as you can see right there. Loads of puddles, loads of grit and loads of mud on my local roads because lots of tractors and farmers dragging mud from the fields into the roads. So keeping the bike clean is not that easy. Probably not a good winter bike if your roads are as filthy as mine. But the really nice thing about Orbea is you can customise the colour of the bike for no extra fee. So you can get a darker colour, black or a blue or red, whatever suits your taste. So that's my review of the Orbea Orca Aero, a bike that definitely delivers speed and is a very impressive package and definitely a contender for the best aero bike currently available. Anyway, that's all I've got time for today. Thank you so much for watching. Got any questions, feel free to put them down below, and make sure you hit that like button and subscribe if you haven't already. But I'll see you all again very soon. Thank you so much for watching.